Guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel, and within the last 30 odd minutes we just got some really exciting news with the Maze of Millennia set leaks, and looks like Rescue Ace is being completely reprinted in a really low rarity, makes it really accessible for new players to get into the game. So what I've done is sort of drafted up a really budget list, and I'll sort of explain the choices within this deck to get you up to speed for your tournaments coming ahead in the next couple of months. So as you can see, the extra deck is really blank here because it's difficult to assess everyone's sort of budget, but what I've done is just put some generic cards in there for now, which we'll discuss near the end of the video. And I appreciate not everything in here is fairly budget, but if that is the case, I would suggest you looking up staples online, cheap staples, and seeing what can be replaced. For example, Nibiru, if it's a bit too expensive, you could potentially play more sort of board breakers like Dark Ruler No More or other budget alternatives. So I appreciate not all the staples will be accessible for everyone, so I'd recommend you do a little bit of research to see what cards would replace the staples that we've got in here that aren't too accessible. Or if you want to drop me a comment, I'm happy to have a little look around for you for other alternatives for these sort of staples other than the rescue deck, which is going to be really accessible now and really budget friendly, which is great. So we'll just get into the deck profile. If you guys are new and want to see more sort of content on Rescue Ace and Yu-Gi-Oh competitive deck profiles and gameplay, feel free to subscribe, like, all that good stuff. We do normally do some locals feature matches on the channel, so if you want to see the Rescue Ace in action, I've probably got some feature matches up on the channel already, and I did a competitive up-to-date version of this deck in its entirety already on the channel. So if you have a little scroll back through the channel, I'm sure you can find some gameplay and another deck profile that I did recently. But in this deck profile, we're going to be exclusively covering the budget version of the deck. So we'll get straight into it. Obviously 3 Hydrant, which is a super rare now, which is pretty crazy. So obviously going to max out on this for consistency, along with Airlifter and reinforcement in the army. I didn't see an impulse reprint on the set spoilers, so I suggest picking these up anyway. I think this card's really good generically as a little mini draw engine paired with fire attacker. So yeah, I recommend picking these cards up in case I'm not mistaken and they aren't reprinted in the set. But yeah, 3 impulse. Essentially, it's just a hand trap that special summons any machine Rescue Ace from your deck, so it can get you a Airlifter on your opponent's turn. The newly limited Airlifter, which can get you emergency for your turn. It's really good. It's a really good starter to get your turn plays going. Fire Engine, we're playing both of these because this is a budget version. I think it's probably best to maximize on Engine, where we don't have all the super consistent cards with the Sinful Spore stuff and the Wanted Engine. We're going to take those out and we're going to put in some more engine cards to compensate for that. So Fire Engine, which essentially is when your opponent special summons, you can special summon level 4 Rescue Ace from your deck. I believe that is a machine as well. Oh no, just any Rescue Ace. That was pretty good. So you can essentially set up like a Hydrant on your turn that can't be targeted by effects because you already control the Rescue Ace, so it's pretty decent follow-up and to get your plays going. And then obviously the fire attacker to get is a little mini draw engine is pretty solid. 2 Preventer, 2 Turbulence. I normally side out one of each going second, or sometimes just the 1 Turbulence, depends on the matchup, because it's not great going second, especially when you can brick quite badly in this deck sometimes. But we're compensating for that by playing maximum starters and ways to see Hydrant on turn 1, or your first turn in general. HQ, which is your infinite follow-up button, being able to set 4 Turbulence. Set 4 is usually an emergency, a rescue, and 2 traps, usually. Being able to use all those cards in your opponent's turn, and then search a HQ off an Airlifter, then follow them turn and shuffle them back and reset them off Turbulence is pretty good. Setting forward cards in general is pretty good in this deck, but being able to do that multiple times due to this card is pretty nuts. So yeah, emergency is probably one of the best cards. If you probably actually know it's the best card in the deck. Being able, if you can navigate turns pretty well, you can hold this card in hand and use it as a way to play around cards such as Effect Veiler and Infinite Impermanence on your Turbulence. So yeah, this card's pretty good. It's basically just special summon a Rescue Ace from deck, and then tribute one from your hand or field afterwards. So yeah, it's pretty strong. And then engrave secret effect is you can banish it. Well, it's not really secret. I always say secret, but it's always written in the card text. You can banish it from engrave and set any Rescue Ace trap card. So it allows you to activate a contain or activate an extinguish on your opponent's turn, and then on your turn, if you have Hydrant already on the field, Hydrant allows you to play trap cards and quick plays the turn they were set, so you can use emergency, reset and extinguish, and use it again on your turn. So being able to have 2 pops is pretty strong. Yeah, so rescue, which is a monster reborn, and then you can take stuff from your opponent's grave if you have a Hydrant. I'm just going over all the card effects because this deck is going to be so accessible now. People are probably going to want to get more familiar with them, so I'm just going to go over each one in a slightly bit more detail to my previous deck profile. But a rescue essentially is a monster reborn quick effects, and if you control Hydrant, you can take stuff from your opponent's grave, which is very, very good against the Viking deck, being able to take Garunix on any targets for the Avata, or if Kieran activates and they have 1 target in grave, you can take that and make them play a card from hand. Plus being able to just take stuff generically in like Fenrir's and really powerful boss monsters in your opponent's graveyard is really, really good. Alert, there are some combos where you can activate this turn 1 because you can set it off Turbulence, and then if you've got control Hydrant, you can use it to search for an impulse on your opponent's turn, or search for a preventer to link climb. It's really, really strong, and it's basically a Rota. So yeah, really good card. I normally side this out going second because it's not that great going second. 2 traps, and then 3 prosperity. So this card should be fairly affordable now. If there aren't any alternatives, maybe you could play Pot of Extravagance, which I know is a common from the latest structure decks. As a way to play this deck super budget, you could probably play Extravagance. So Pot, if you aren't familiar with it, Pot of Extravagance, it's just essentially banish 6 cards, up to 6 cards, or 3 or 6, sorry. Random for the extra deck, and then draw 1 for every 3 cards banished. So it's just a budget version of this, really, and you don't get to control what you banish, but you do get to get a +1 off it, which is quite nice. So that's an alternative for prosperity. 1 for 1's pretty much a common. Send a monster from your hand to the graveyard, special summon level 1 from your deck, pretty good. Call of the Grave, a way to stop pesky hand traps like Ash Blossom on emergency or Effect Veiler on our Turbulence, and then also very good offensively against Viking as well. Instant Fusion, so I really like this card in this deck because the mirror match is probably going to be a bit more prevalent now, so you can activate Instant Fusion to special summon Muddragon of Swamp, and then instantly just say use the effect to call 5 monsters, and that means all your 5 monsters cannot be targeted, or 5 monsters on a field, I believe. Yeah, so target this card or monsters on a field with the same attributes. So just note that if you're playing a mirror match, you cannot target monsters on the field with the same attribute as the card. So just take that into note. But it's a really good way to potentially go prosperity, dig for this, or if you hard open it, just being able to summon this, call fire, make sure all your effects resolve, and then link it off for an IP or an SP if you're fortunate to have a copy of that. But yeah, Instant Fusion, a fantastic card, and it's really good against Telement, which Telement isn't a great matchup for this deck. So being able to activate this going first or second is really, really strong because it enables you to make Abyss Dweller, which is a fantastic card this format, and it allows you to play around the Telement field spell, targeting destruction, and it allows you to play around the Sulek, which is a targeting negation. So yeah, Instant Fusion is a very strong card in this deck right now. So it should be a common, so it should be fairly budget. Impermanence, probably one of the best cards in the game in terms of hand traps. Same with Ash Blossom, same with Effect Veiler, same with the Nibiru. So these cards should all be reprinted in the Rosie collection set, so it should be really budget. And that's pretty much it. 9 non-engine, not including prosperity, and a bunch of consistency cards in the terms of 1 for 1, Rota, 3 hydrants. So yeah, the deck should be a very solid budget deck, to be fair. I think a lot of people will be using this as a gateway for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! For the side deck, if you're a really budget player, I wouldn't worry about this too much for now. Just focus on learning the technical play of Rescue Ace, learning how to play around in cards like Nibiru, Ash, Effect Veiler, Impermanence. and more importantly, getting this card to resolve is your biggest win condition. If you're looking for some ideas, I think Pankratops is a fantastic card for the mirror match and really good against rogue decks. It's just a boss monster that special summons if your opponent controls more monsters than you, and it's a 2600 monster that can attack over pesky cards like a SP Little Knight, and it's a quick effect tribute card and destroy cards on the field. So you can special summon it, and if you don't want to use the effect, you can just hold it for your opponent's turn as disruption. So yeah, really good card. Cosmic Cyclone I think is a really good budget option. I'm not sure the price of talents at the moment, but it could be a really good card. If not, Judgment's a very solid option. It's just got a common in the latest structure deck. So Solemn Judgment could be an option over talents. And then obviously 6 non-engine hand traps against any of your local meta game, or if you're going to a regional, I expect probably these cards are probably the most decent right now. And that's kind of it for the side deck and the main deck. But for the extra deck, obviously I've left a lot of cards blank here. If you have SP Little Knights, play those. If you have Sky Crisis Typhon, play that. Access Code, Selene, Appaloosa, all these options. If you have them, play them. If not, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just try and play whatever generic link cards you have, or any sort of boss monsters you might have in the extra deck. There is a way to synchro summon this deck if you want to play Jet Synchron and then max out on copies of the original Synthal Spore, which is sitting about £5 each right now. Basically, this send a face-up card you control to the graveyard, special summon a level 1 of fire from your deck. So you can play Jet Synchron, and that's a level 1 tuner to make cards like Baron the Fleur, Borrowed Savage Dragon, which is a pretty solid option. Or you can just keep it really clean, 40 cards, no bricks, because Jet Synchron's a bit of a brick, and just play some generic link monsters. I think these are probably the most solid one. A very good card right now, which is a little bit harder to make since this is Airlifters now limited, is Proxy F Magician. Essentially, it's a link to generic link to 2 effect monsters, and you can fusion summon during your main phase 1 using cards you control, and then you can essentially make a Mud Dragon Swamp with 2 fire monsters with different attributes. So this plus any of the 5 Rescue Ace monsters makes a Mud Dragon Swamp, and if you have an Airlifter on the field, that overlays into Abyss Dweller. So yeah, cool little combos, and obviously just making IP generically with unicorns, so it's going to be strong. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So if you have any questions on any potential alternatives for these staples, just drop them in the comments. I'm happy to give some feedback or advice on that. If not, stick around for some Rescue Ace gameplay, which will more than likely be on the channel the next couple of months. And subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.